Hello, Emmanuel. I would like to read, we're continuing in James. I'd like to read out of chapter 4, the last verses 13 to 17 is our scripture for today. Come now, you who say, today or tomorrow we will go into such and such a town and spend a year there and trade and make a profit. Yet you do not know what tomorrow will bring. What is your life? For you are a mist that appears for a little time and then vanishes. Instead, you ought to say, if the Lord wills, we will live and do this or that. As it is, you boast in your arrogance. All such boasting is evil. So whoever knows the right thing to do and fails to do it, for that person, it is a sin. Again, James has got this way of just sort of grabbing us. Scott McKnight, who's one of the commentators that Lynn has referenced several times so far in this series, Scott points out just how jarring so many of James's one-liners are. James is fond of the sudden, the strong, the attention-grabbing rhetoric. For example, whenever you face trials of any kind, consider it nothing but joy, or consider it pure joy. That grabs you because it goes against what you're feeling, what I'm feeling. Another line from James out of chapter 2. What good is it if you say you have faith but no works? That's meant to slap us awake, to jar us. Chapter 3. Not many of you should become teachers. Again, it's sort of like, why? What's going on? It's meant to arrest the hearer, force us to take a step back. It puts us on our heels. And so this week we get another one-liner just like that from James. What is your life? It's nothing but a mist that appears for a little while and then vanishes. This week on Tuesday morning, our middle son is always the earliest in the house. He wakes up, makes himself breakfast, and as I woke up hearing him kind of rumbling downstairs, I looked outside the window and there was a fog or a mist covering the Conejo Valley. I took 3 pictures in about 10 minutes of each shot. I'm going to try to put them up here on the screen for the video. And in the first picture from my backyard, I was trying to capture, there's a hill behind that mist that you can't see. And in the second picture, the mist starts to move. The vapor starts to clear and you can see a little bit more of the hill. And then the third picture, the mist is gone. It's gone, and you can see the hill and actually a smaller second hill right next to it. And that's what James is saying. Your life is like a mist, here and then gone. In one sense, we totally get that. We're just specks on the globe in a massive timeline that extends literally into eternity. And on the other hand, life is sacred. Life is precious. It feels rather important to me, this life that we live, don't you think? There's an artist from the United Kingdom. He's an English pop artist called The Streets. And he wrote a song about how one day, it's a dramatization. I don't know how autobiographical it is or not, but he's talking about how painful life is. And he's actually contemplating suicide. And he's standing sort of on a cliff thinking about this in a kind of a hiking area. And an old man approaches him. And the old man sees what's going on in this young man's mind. And this is what the old man says. And he reminds the young man of these beautiful facts. Here's what he says. Here's the lyric from the song. For billions of years since the onset of time, every single one of your ancestors has survived. Every single person on your mom and your dad's side successfully looked after and passed on life to you. What are the chances of that? He says. It comes to me every once in a while, and everywhere I tell folk, it gets the best smile. And the old man leaves, and the young man standing on the cliff has to ponder the ages of ancestry that have got him there. Think about that. Every single ancestor on your mother and father's side successfully passed on life to you. Think about that. Life is precious, and yet it's also a mist, and like that, it changes or it's gone. Is the fleeting nature of life as a mist or a vapor incongruent with the beauty and miracle of life? I don't think so. If anything, I think this is exactly what James is getting at. So what's the indictment here? Why this tough language? Why this strong language from James? Here, James is talking about a merchant or a business person in this very Hellenized ancient world where there's hustle and bustle, there's trade, there's import. You're buying dye, you're buying grain, you're buying agriculture, all this stuff. There's commerce, there's trade, there's goods, there's work, and there's profit. It sounds familiar. It's a life that we are very used to, very accustomed to, the kind of life that we work within as well. And so James uses this example of a business person. Today or tomorrow, we will go into such and such town and spend a year there and trade and make a profit. And James counters, yet you do not know what tomorrow will bring. Is it wrong to plan? Is it wrong to profit? Is it wrong to create a 5-year plan, a strategy for commerce, for goods, for successful living? At Presbyterian about a week ago, one of the pastors being examined for membership in our presbytery said, I'm not a big fan of the 5-year plan. I'm not a big fan of 5-year strategic planning because things change. So many things are out of our control that can derail a good plan. And when he said that, we all kind of chuckled because COVID's here. Who in 2015 saw 2020 coming? Who in 2015 thought, yeah, you know what? I see us super isolated and angry and frustrated, a pandemic. So again, I go back to the original question. What's the indictment here from James? Why is he so riled up? And he names it later in the passage. It's the boasting, it's the arrogance, it's the presumption from the merchant. For the merchant or this business person in this passage, time is under their control. Location is under their control. The duration of their business is under their control. And the labor and the profits are under their control. In this little scenario, there's no need for God. We're going to go to such and such place for such and such time and make such and such money, and then we'll keep going. There is no need. There's no dependence. There's no reliance on God. Many of you know that my dad is a really successful business person. He, in 1984, started his own guitar company, building custom guitars. And he's had incredible success, and he's built a reputation as being one of the best American-made custom guitars in the world. And also he's known for his integrity because he treats every customer the same. It doesn't matter if you're Mick Jagger from the Rolling Stones ordering a guitar, or if you're Bob from across the street ordering a guitar. Everyone stands in the same line. Nobody gets special preference. And it's really successful. He's done a great job with it. When COVID hit and his shop had to close, it was brutal for him and his employees. He had a sound business plan. More than 35 years of successful business management and planning. And then there were a whole bunch of hiccups. He couldn't get wood from certain countries because imports and exports had to stop. At one point, he could no longer get cases for his guitars, so he could build guitars, but he couldn't ship them because the cases from Italy couldn't come over. And then there was a shortage of strings made out of New York, and so now he's building guitars that are stringless. The point is, we don't know what tomorrow will bring. Even for a sound, sage business person who's got 35 years of expertise and practice and product, we don't know what tomorrow will bring. Our lives are like a vapor, a mist, here and then gone. There are 3 classic responses to this truth, that our lives really are short and are just blips on our radar. It's a truth that many of us have come to know through great pain and sorrow, that our life is short. As I look at these chairs, I can imagine many of you in your spots. And because I can see you there, I remember your stories. I can think of people who've gone through incredible pain, incredible loss. I'm reminded of story after story, just looking out in front of me here, of how fragile life is. And so the three responses to this fragility of life, to the shortness of life, to its ability to come and go so quick, there are three classic sort of responses upon seeing the fleeting nature of life. The first response is the Epicurean response, or hedonistic materialism. It goes something like this. There's so little time to experience all that life has to offer, and so many sensations available to us that we must pursue them all. We must be alert to them all. In the 1500s, a famous poet wrote, gather ye rosebuds while ye may, because they're going to be gone soon. We also get the classic carpe diem, seize the day in this mindset. Or let us eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die. Right? These classic phrases that sort of remind us of the fleeting nature of life. For those of you with children or grandchildren, there are modern terms that capture these terms. The first one being YOLO, which was very popular about a year ago or two, which was you only live once, YOLO. And so you might do something crazy and shout out YOLO when you do it. Thankfully, that has gone out of vogue, but it's quickly been replaced with my own kids saying things like, send it, when they're jumping in the pool and they want to do something a little more risky. Send it, or yeet. Capture this idea. Yang Chen, an ancient Chinese philosopher, famously captured this worldview when he wrote these words. We ought, therefore, to hasten to enjoy life and pay no attention to death. Allow the ear to hear what it likes, the eye to see what it likes, the nose to smell what it likes, the mouth to say what it likes, the body to enjoy the comforts it likes to have, and the mind to do what it likes. Sounds awesome, right? It's also completely selfish and ultimately totally unsatisfying. It is the pursuit of pleasure at all cost. And it leaves one feeling empty and typically looking for their next fix that attempts to satisfy some sort of inner longing or emptiness. So that's the first response, live free. The second response is considered the Stoic or Buddhist response, and it's an evaluation of life that can be characterized in this way. If light is fleeting, self-indulgence, as listed above, only gives us truncated satisfaction. It doesn't last. As we move through life, we are destined by fate and disappointment. Life is ultimately just sickness and aging, and eventually it's gone. Life only, ever, and always leads to death. Therefore, avoid disillusionment. Avoid ennui, avoid despair, but ultimately do not love life. Turn your back on it. Don't throw yourselves into something that is ultimately meaningless. William Wordsworth, a famous romantic poet, wrote these words, "Our birth is but a sleep and a forgetting." Our birth is but a sleep and forgetting. He's talking about the loss of innocence. As we're born, we've got so much potential, but right from the get-go, it's just a downward spiral of aging and death. The Stoic would argue to guard yourself from life's disappointments so that you're not duped by them when they come. That sounds pretty fun / depressing. And so there's a third way. It's Christ's way. It's God's way. Yes, life is fleeting. Yes, our lives are but a mist or a vapor, quickly here and gone, but there is so much more than that. when we view our lives in the grand narrative of God's will and God's power, we must always remember that our lives are tethered to that very God. Our temporary lives are linked to God's eternal being. We who see are intrinsically linked to the unseen God. That which is known and tangible is also linked to the mysterious and the mystical, which is God. When we view our lives in light of God's plan, God's will, God's hopes, even God's death and resurrection, disillusionment, suffering, the fleeting nature of life are all tempered by grace and by hope and by trust and by real power, God's power. All this temporary stuff finds total significance because God is involved, and therefore it's now eternally important. All of life is therefore valuable. All experiences are wrapped up in God. There's freedom here, my friends, in letting go of our desire for control. There is freedom here in handing over our satisfaction, the need to pacify ourselves, to accumulate things that make us feel good, and rather hand that over to Jesus. Rather than endlessly pursue vanity, profit, success, we give it to Jesus. There is joy to be had in aligning our will to God's will. The passage is great. It says here, instead, you ought to say, if the Lord wills it, we will live here and do this or do that. This is why we get the phrase, the sort of throwaway phrase, Lord willing or God willing. It's an attempt to be faithful to what James is saying. Rather than saying, these are my plans, this is what I want to accomplish, we couch it in God willing. If Jesus wills it. There is an abundant life waiting for us because we're linked to the creator of the cosmos, the one who has defeated death and promises to make all things new, to reconcile all things to himself. The work is done for us, my friends. We can allow God to be God and find our identities wrapped up solely in God rather than ourselves or that which we can manufacture. May we be a people who choose humility over boasting. May we be a people who choose dependence on God over presumption. May we always pray, but even more, enact and behave as though we believe, thy kingdom come, thy will be done. Amen.